Hi, I'm Brad Sugars and this is Business Basics. Today I want to take you through a very simple but very, very powerful understanding of how it is we actually create major entrepreneurial and wealth success for ourselves. You know, this, it's my entrepreneur's ladder. And really, this is something you have to understand in order to be able to create your future the way you want to do it in business and in wealth too, I guess. See, we start out life as an employee, right down the bottom of the ladder. Here we are as an employee, our whole job, and well, even before that you were a student, I guess. As a student you did many subjects and you're an apprentice employee. Once you got to the point of being an employee, you're now being paid. Now, what are you being paid for? Basically, you're trading time for money. Sometimes, as you get better as an employee, you'll trade knowledge for money, but most people are trading time for money. Now, here we are as an employee, and, well, there's two different words you need to understand. It's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you learn. Most people get a job and think, you know, what's my paycheck going to be? Can I pay the bills with the paycheck? If you're really smart, what you do is actually the opposite of that. If you're really smart, what you aim to do is sit down and say, you know what? I need a job where I'm going to learn things that are going to set me up for the rest of my life. You know, you go to school and you spend all this time in school learning stuff, and then, well, how do I put this politely? People stop learning as soon as they get a job, and they wonder why their earning capacity never increases. You'll never out-earn your learning capacity. So the more you learn, the more you can earn. Earn less, learn less. I mean, it's relatively simple that way. What happens if the knowledge you've got becomes obsolete? In other words, let's say you're in the carburetor manufacturing business when electronic fuel injection started. Or let's say you're the world's best expert on manufacturing vinyl records. You know, it doesn't matter. If your knowledge becomes obsolete, you have to start learning again. The thing about being a good employee and learning is that when you go into business for yourself, because an employee is basically an apprentice business owner, that's your job as an employee. The challenge is most people as an employee do only one subject. You know what I mean by that, studying. You know, if you're an engineer for 20 years, it doesn't give you 20 years business experience, it gives you 20 years engineering experience. So when you go over to be in business for yourself, you still don't have much experience. You've only got experience in one area of the business. The trade of the business is one single aspect of it. Sales, marketing, legal, finance, accounting, all of these, purchasing, IT, these are all areas that you need to become good at to be a good business owner. And people say, oh, I can hire people to do that. Well, not in the beginning you can't in most cases. So, but if people are good, they move from employee up to self-employed. Now, a self-employed person, they live on what I call the seesaw. It's like find some work, do the work, find the work, do the work, find the work, do the work. And that's what your cash flow looks like, up and down all the time. See, being self-employed means it's just you. You're the only one there. If you don't do it, nobody does it. And it's really interesting to watch people at self-employed, because the majority of people at self-employed end up making a silly statement of, well, this is all too hard, I'm just going to go back and get a job. You know, and they wonder why that it didn't work. Well, the fact remains that if, as an employee, if you'd done different subjects, and what I mean by that, you'd done some work in sales, you've done some work in marketing, you've done some work in accounts, you've done some work in purchasing. If you've done different jobs, then all of those different jobs will lead to more knowledge, so that when you get into self-employed, when it is just you, you've got enough knowledge of how to do it. There's so much to learn at self-employed. That's why people often ask, you know, can you teach me to get rich quick? And I said, well, not really, because it takes 10 years to learn how to get rich. It doesn't take 10 years to get rich, it takes 10 years to learn how. That's what takes the time in developing wealth. So, but ultimately, though, some people do move from self-employed up to manager. So now no longer are they just themselves, they've employed some others. Problem is, many make the mistake of employing a relative first time round, or a friend who's out of work, and wonder why it's not working out the way it should have. Look, the key to employing people is employ people who are better at the job than you are. You know, that's your goal in life. Don't employ people you can train, employ people who can train you. If they're better at it, then you don't have to do it anymore. Now, it won't always be the case. Even if they are only 80% as good as you, you've still got to focus on getting the best results you can out of the people you hire. Again, you move to the level of manager, There's a whole bunch of new things to learn. You've got to learn recruiting, you've got to learn training, induction, you've got to learn delegation. You've now got to learn leadership skills, not just management. When it's just you, you can manage. When it's other people, you've got to lead. So here we are now at the level of manager. Again, it was the seesaw at self-employed. At manager, it's more like the merry-go-round. It's round and round in circles, putting out the fires of all of the people you employ. You know, when we look at this very clearly, we start to grasp, I guess, the fact that the people that you thought worked for you, when you're at management level, generally you're working for them. You're generally cleaning it up, because when it was just you, you could cover the mistakes. When it's you plus a whole bunch of other people, you're now having to put out all the fires. You know, ultimately, though, our goal is to get to a business which, well, by definition, my definition anyway of a business, is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without me. If I have to be there, it's a job. If it works without me, then it's a good business. So ultimately our job is to get to the owner of a business, where instead of having to turn up to do the work, we've built the business and it runs and it works so we don't have to. See, the reason why most business owners work so hard is your business doesn't work. You do. Ultimately our goal is to get to owner, and that's where a business coach will work with you. That's why I'm hoping many of you are already working with my coaches. If you're not, please make sure you get to chat with one of them soon. Ultimately then we take the next stage, which is investing. We become an investor. Now as an investor we've got to learn to invest in 3 asset classes. Firstly, we've got to learn how to invest in businesses. Second, we've got to learn how to invest in property. And third, into the stock market. Now we do them in that order. Why? There's many reasons why. I'll give you a couple of the simple ones though. Firstly, our aim in life is to produce cash flow. Business is the best cash flow investment that there is. Secondly, we don't want to dive into the fastest strategies first. The stock market is extraordinarily fast moving, and if you do things wrong, it can cost you very, very, very big. You know, ultimately, we've become an investor. We've learned those 3 asset classes. Now, what is an investor about? An investor is someone who's buying investments. As an investor, you're putting your money into other deals. Now, our goal in moving to entrepreneur, the top level of this ladder, is to no longer be doing it with our money where we're buying deals. Now it's to be putting deals together for other people to buy into. So instead of buying investments, we're now selling investments to other people. So where in business you might have had your own business or bought into other companies, now you've built it to a stage where you're taking it public. You're floating the company, doing an IPO and selling the shares. In property, instead of buying properties, you're now developing and selling properties. You know, there's many different ways you can move. In the stock market, you're now no longer just investing in shares, you're now trading the shares. You might be writing calls, you might be doing a whole bunch of things that are at that entrepreneurial level of building this wealth for yourself. You know, it's relatively simplistic, but hopefully you've gotten the picture. We start out as an employee. Our job is an apprenticeship to becoming a business owner. When we get into business ownership, our job with the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 businesses is an apprenticeship to ultimately find a global business that we can take public. That's the aim of the game. I'm Brad Sugars, and this is Business Basics.